The humans were supposed to be nothing, a speck. A cosmic joke. At least that's what Grand Admiral Vexnar had assured the Hegemony Council when they first detected the primitive bipedal organisms expanding beyond their home system. His exact words, if memory serves correctly, were barely evolved primates playing with toys they don't understand. Well, who's laughing now? Certainly not the smoking ruins of our once magnificent capital city. My name is Tor Laxum, chief historian of what remains of the Zypherian hegemony, and I am recording this testimony as both warning and confession for whatever civilizations may follow us in this merciless galaxy. We should have known better. The signs were there. The humans have weaponized another gas giant, reported Lieutenant Kress nearly 2 stellar cycles ago during a routine intelligence briefing. That makes 17 Jovian extraction platforms in their outer territories. Grand Admiral Vexnar had merely flicked his tertiary appendage dismissively, sending ripples across his azure membrane. Let them burn hydrogen. What can they possibly do with it that we cannot counter? Kress, always the more cautious one, her crimson scales darkening with concern, tried again. The energy output calculations suggest they are stockpiling antimatter, sir. Our projections indicate. Your projections indicate your fear, Lieutenant, Vexnar interrupted. These humans haven't even unified their home planet. Their nations still bicker among themselves. They are divided, primitive, and wholly unprepared for real conflict. How spectacularly wrong he was. How catastrophically, apocalyptically wrong we all were. The first sign of trouble came from Outpost Velka 9, one of our newer territorial acquisitions on the frontier separating hegemony space from the expanding human sphere. The human colony of New Montana had been established there, against our explicit warnings. An affront, certainly, but not worth military engagement according to our strategic calculus. We should make an example of them, General Prax suggested during the Emergency Council meeting. His tentacles coiled anxiously around his ceremonial staff. A precision strike. Just enough to remind them of their place in the galactic order. Supreme Overlord Zuvan leaned forward on her crystalline throne, all 4 eyes narrowing. The humans have ignored 17 diplomatic warnings. Their arrogance grows with each cycle. Perhaps Prax is correct, a demonstration is required. I remember raising my voice then, one of the few times I dared speak in such august company. Supreme One, our cultural analysis of human historical data suggests they respond poorly to threats. Their psychological makeup. Their psychology is irrelevant, Vexnar cut in. They are violating sovereign hegemony territory. And so, with casual arrogance that still haunts my nightmares, the order was given. Operation Swift Justice. A measured response to human encroachment. 3 battlecruisers. 5,000 troops. 1 human colony. The attack took less than 6 hours. New Montana, population 37,452, ceased to exist. The official report described the operation as a resounding success with minimal collateral damage to valuable mineral resources. When the communication blackout hit 3 days later, no one was particularly concerned. Solar flares, equipment malfunction, there were dozens of benign explanations. Probably those human hackers trying to be annoying again, Commander Pelks joked over meal rations. Remember how they flooded our entertainment channels with those bizarre dancing videos last cycle? We laughed. Gods of the void, how we laughed. The first ship arrived without warning. It simply appeared in orbit around Zypheria Prime. No hyperspace distortion. No drive signatures. One moment empty space. The next a vessel of unfamiliar configuration hanging against the stars. Black as night. Silent as death. Unidentified vessel. This is Zypherian Defense Command, Admiral Vexnar transmitted, his membrane rippling with indignation rather than fear. You have entered sovereign space without authorization. Identify yourself immediately. The silence stretched for 27 agonizing minutes. Long enough for Vexnar to mobilize our home defense fleet. Long enough for Supreme Overlord Zuvan to be escorted to her emergency bunker beneath the capital. long enough for preliminary scans to reveal the terrifying truth about the intruder. "Sir, energy readings are impossible," the sensor officer reported, voice cracking. "The vessel's mass is consistent with a light cruiser, but it's generating power equivalent to a small star." When the response finally came, it was audio only. Single human voice, speaking perfect Zypherian without translation artifacts. "This is Admiral Eleanor Reyes of the United Earth Navy. You massacred 37,452 of our people. 412 of them were children under the age of 10. We have come for the bill." Vexnar, ever the diplomat, attempted reason. "Admiral, there appears to be a misunderstanding. The human settlement was established in violation of clearly defined territorial." "No misunderstanding," the human interrupted. "We are quite clear on what happened. You had options. Diplomacy, negotiation, even simple communication. Instead, you chose extermination." "Now listen here," Vexnar began. "But no, you listen." The human's voice remained eerily calm. "We tried to be peaceful neighbors. You interpreted that as weakness, a common mistake. The last mistake your leadership will ever make." More ships appeared then. Dozens. Hundreds. Surrounding our homeworld like a noose. "We don't want war," Admiral Reyes continued. "But make no mistake, we will finish what you started. You have 6 hours to deliver every individual involved in planning and executing the attack on New Montana. Every officer. Every soldier. Every politician who approved it." Vexnar's membranes flashed the deep purple of outrage. "This is absurd. You cannot possibly expect." 6 hours, the human repeated. "After that, we start taking them ourselves. And we won't be gentle about it." The connection terminated. Panic erupted across the command center. "They are bluffing," Vexnar insisted. "Mobilize the fleet. All of it." I tried once more to make them understand. "Sir, human historical records show a consistent pattern. They don't make threats they can't back up. They are primitives." Vexnar roared. "Their most advanced ships were barely faster than light just 2 decades ago." "Yes," I said quietly. "And now they are here, somehow with technology we can't even scan properly. Doesn't that concern you? It should have. By all the forgotten gods, it should have." The 6 hours passed. No surrender was offered. Vexnar positioned our entire defense fleet in a sphere around Zypheria Prime. 8,000 warships, the pride of the hegemony, bristling with enough firepower to glass a dozen worlds. "Let them try," Supreme Overlord Zuvan declared from her bunker. "Show these humans the price of threatening a civilization 10,000 years their senior." The attack, when it came, defied everything we thought we knew about warfare. No energy weapons, no kinetic bombardment, no nuclear detonations. The human ships simply released something. Small objects, barely larger than personal transport pods, that drifted toward our fleet. "Analysis?" Vexnar demanded. "Unknown, sir. They appear to be mechanical in nature, possibly drones." Vexnar ordered immediate destruction of the objects. Our gunners obliged, lasers lancing out across the void. The beams passed through their targets as if they weren't there. "Holograms?" someone suggested. Then the objects reached our ships, passing through shields and hull plating as if they were mist. Inside each vessel, horrified crews reported the same phenomenon. The objects phased directly into their command centers, hovered briefly, then disgorged what appeared to be humans. It's not physical humans' projections, somehow solid enough to interact with their surroundings. "How is this possible?" Vexnar whispered as reports flooded in. Throughout our fleet, these phantom humans walked calmly through walls and barriers, ignoring weapons fire, proceeding directly to wherever high-ranking officers were located. They didn't kill. They didn't destroy. They simply took. Officers vanished when touched, along with the projection that had captured them. Within 20 minutes, every individual who had participated in the New Montana operation was gone. Simply gone. Taken from ships, from homes, from secure bunkers kilometers beneath the surface, 843 Zypherians, including General Prax, vanished without firing a single shot. Even Supreme Overlord Zuvan, surrounded by her elite guard in the most secure facility on the planet, disappeared between one breath and the next. Only Vexnar remained, having barricaded himself in the quantum-shielded command vault of his flagship. "What do you want?" he shrieked into the communications system. "What are you?" Admiral Reyes responded immediately, as if she'd been waiting. "We are what you made us, Admiral. You taught us a valuable lesson at New Montana. Force is the only language some understand." A human projection appeared directly in the vault with Vexnar, walking through quantum-shielded walls that had cost more than some planetary defense systems. "This isn't possible," Vexnar whimpered, backing away. "Your species was splitting atoms just 3 centuries ago." The human projection smiled. "Necessity is quite the motivator, Admiral. You are not the first to underestimate us. Just the most recent. What have you done with the others?" Vexnar demanded, his membrane flushed the pale yellow of terror. "They are alive, being tried for their crimes. Justice will be served." The projection extended a hand. "Your turn." Vexnar, to his credit, finally showed something resembling courage. "And what of justice for your crimes?" "This technology, these violations of physical law, they are abominations. You have broken every treaty on warfare in the known galaxy." The projection's smile faded. "Says the species that just slaughtered a civilian colony. Your moral outrage would be more convincing if it weren't dripping with hypocrisy." "We are the Zypherian hegemony," Vexnar declared. "We have ruled these stars since before your kind discovered fire. You cannot simply." "We already have." The projection touched Vexnar, and the Grand Admiral vanished. Across Zypheria Prime, the human ships began departing, blinking out of existence as mysteriously as they had arrived. Within an hour, only a single vessel remained, maintaining position directly above our capital city. A final message was broadcast planet-wide. People of the Zypherian hegemony. Those responsible for the New Montana massacre will face justice under human law. We have no quarrel with your civilians. However, understand this clearly. Any further aggression against human worlds will be met with devastating consequences. We took your leaders today. Next time, we take everything. The remaining ship vanished, leaving us leaderless, confused, and terrified. The following days were chaos. The Hegemony Council, minus its military leadership and supreme overlord, struggled to maintain order. Conspiracy theories flourished. Religious cults formed overnight, proclaiming the humans harbingers of divine judgment. I was summoned before what remained of the council to provide analysis. "How?" Councillor Drez demanded, her facial ridges flushed with distress. "How could they possibly develop such technology without our knowledge?" I could only offer theories. The humans have always been unconventional thinkers. Their scientific development doesn't follow predictable patterns like most species. They make intuitive leaps that sometimes bypass entire technological stages. That doesn't explain phase-shifting technology that ignores fundamental physical laws. Another counselor protested. No, I agreed, it doesn't. But their historical records show numerous examples of rapid technological advancement when threatened. They call it wartime innovation, and we most certainly threatened them. The silence that followed was deafening. Finally, Councillor Drez spoke the question everyone feared to ask, will they come back? I considered carefully before answering, but that depends entirely on us. The humans have demonstrated both their capabilities and their restraint. They could have destroyed our fleet, bombarded our worlds. Instead, they performed surgical extraction of specific individuals. That suggests they'd prefer peace, but are fully prepared for war. 2 days later, we received word that Grand Admiral Vexnar had been publicly tried, found guilty of crimes against sentient life, and sentenced to spend the remainder of his existence in something called supermax isolation. The other officers received similar sentences. General Prax reportedly took his own life during captivity. Supreme Overlord Zuvan's fate remained unknown, though rumors suggested she was being held separately as the architect of aggression. We hoped desperately that this would be the end of it. A humiliating chapter in our history, certainly, but one we could recover from. Replace our leadership. Rebuild our pride. Perhaps even develop countermeasures against human phantom technology. How naive we were. How arrogant, even in defeat. Because the humans weren't finished teaching us lessons. Not even close. And what came next would redefine the meaning of overwhelming response for every spacefaring civilization in the galaxy. For 38 days following the human abduction of our leadership, the Zypherian hegemony existed in an uneasy limbo. Markets crashed. Provincial governors declared independence. Military commanders, terrified of human retribution, refused orders to patrol even our core systems. We should sue for peace immediately, argued Councillor Drez during an emergency session. Formal apologies, reparations, territorial concessions, whatever it takes. Councillor Braz-Zak, representing our military-industrial complex, bristled at the suggestion. Capitulation? After one setback, this was clearly their most advanced technology, a desperate gambit they cannot sustain. I observed from my historian's alcove, noting how quickly those who had been silent during the new Montana decision now had bold opinions. Desperation? Drez laughed, a harsh sound from her throat sacs. Did you witness the same events as the rest of us? They bypassed our most advanced defenses with technology we cannot even comprehend, let alone counter. Braz-Zak's facial membranes pulsed with dark purple rage. One ship entering our system undetected could be explained by experimental stealth technology, but their entire fleet appearing simultaneously impossible. It must have been an elaborate illusion. A junior counselor whose name I'd never bothered to learn spoke up. The humans transmitted a statement this morning. They are returning Supreme Overlord Zuvan to us tomorrow. The chamber erupted in shocked exclamations. Returning her? Why? Demanded Braz-Zak. Apparently, the junior counselor continued, checking his data terminal. She has been found mentally incompetent to stand trial due to something called PTSD. The message says she's being returned as a humanitarian gesture. Humanitarian? Drez spat the unfamiliar word. Even their mercy is self-aggrandizing. I admitted to myself a certain curiosity about what could have broken someone as formidable as Zuvan in mere weeks. The Supreme Overlord had survived 3 assassination attempts and personally executed her predecessors. She wasn't exactly delicate. Their debate continued for hours. Sue for peace. Rebuild our defenses. Seek alliance with the Krell Dominion against this human menace. Endless talking that accomplished nothing. The following day, Supreme Overlord Zuvan was indeed returned and delivered to the steps of the High Conclave building by what witnesses described as a bubble of warped space that appeared, deposited her, and vanished. I was among the first to see her when medical personnel rushed her inside. The physical form was unmistakably Zuvan, all 4 eyes, distinctive scale patterns, ceremonial rank markings, but the consciousness behind those eyes was gone. She stared unblinking, unresponsive to questions or stimuli, occasionally muttering fragmented phrases. They pulled the stars apart, unwound them like thread. Shouldn't be possible, gods walking in human skin. The council immediately classified her condition and statements, but rumors spread regardless. The mighty Zuvan, reduced to babbling incoherence by whatever she had witnessed in human custody. 3 days later, everything changed again. A human diplomatic vessel announced in advance, through proper channels, displaying appropriate identification signals, requested permission to enter orbit and dispatch representatives to the surface. The council debated for approximately 11 seconds before granting enthusiastic approval. The human delegation consisted of 3 individuals: Ambassador Thomas Reiko, a compact male with curious facial hair patterns, Dr. Parvati Jindal, who was introduced as their xenopsychology expert, and Commander Dante Washington, a towering military officer whose ceremonial uniform bore fewer decorations than our lowest-ranking cadet. Commander Washington spoke first after introductions, addressing the awkward silence with surprising directness. "Let's acknowledge the gravitational singularity in the room, shall we? You are terrified of us, confused by recent events, and uncertain of our intentions. That's understandable." Ambassador Rico shot him a look that suggested this bluntness wasn't part of their rehearsed protocol. The commander ignored it. 3 weeks ago you had never lost a war in your 10,000-year history. Your technological superiority over most species was absolute. Then you picked a fight with humans, and now your leadership caste is imprisoned, your supreme overlord is catatonic, and your military is afraid to leave their bunkers. That's quite an adjustment period. Commander Ambassador Rico interjected smoothly, perhaps a more diplomatic. "Diplomacy got 37,000 humans vaporized," Washington replied flatly. "I think we are past pleasantries." Counselor Drez, displaying remarkable courage, addressed the commander directly. "What do you want from us?" Washington's expression softened slightly. "Peace. Genuine, lasting peace. Despite what you may believe, humans don't enjoy conflict. We are just exceptionally good at it when provoked." Dr. Jindal stepped forward, her movements graceful despite our planet's higher gravity. "We have studied your civilization extensively. Your achievements in mathematics, architecture, stellar engineering truly impressive. We have much to learn from each other. The New Montana tragedy was avoidable and unnecessary." "Tragedy?" Braz-Zak's voice dripped contempt. "You make it sound like a natural disaster rather than a legal military action against territorial encroachment." The temperature in the room seemed to drop several degrees as Commander Washington turned his gaze to Braz-Zak. "Be careful, counselor. Very careful. Your predecessor had similar views about slaughtering civilians. Would you like to join him?" The threat hung in the air like poison gas. Ambassador Rico cleared his throat. "What the commander means is that perspective matters. From our viewpoint, New Montana was a civilian scientific outpost in unclaimed space. The colonists included experts in terraforming technology who were actually working to make the planet more hospitable for all species, including Zypherians." "Preposterous," Braz-Zak scoffed. "Our territorial claims in that sector date back 206 years, Dr. Jindal interrupted. "Filed with the Galactic Registry after your automated probes detected trace elements of valuable minerals. You never established presence, never terraformed, never colonized. You simply declared ownership and expected all other species to comply." The accuracy of her knowledge was unsettling. Ambassador Rico produced a small device that projected a holographic document, the original Zephyrian territorial claim, complete with official seals. "Note Section 47B of your own claim filing," he continued. "It specifically acknowledges that failure to establish permanent settlement within 180 standard years renders the claim contestable under Galactic Convention statutes." Silence fell as the council members exchanged uncomfortable glances. He was right, of course. Our own lawyers had warned about this very loophole decades ago, but no one had considered it relevant. What species would dare contest our claims? Humans, apparently. "This is all very interesting legal debate," Drez said finally, "but it doesn't address our current situation. Your people have abducted our leadership, demonstrated technology that negates our defensive capabilities, and clearly established military superiority. What are your terms?" Commander Washington smiled. It wasn't particularly reassuring. "Our terms are simple. First, formal acknowledgement that New Montana was a legal settlement. Second, reparations to the families of the deceased. Third, a binding non-aggression pact between humanity and the hegemony." Braz-Zak's membrane fluttered in disbelief. "That's all? No territorial concessions? No technology transfers? No disarmament demands? Would you prefer those terms instead?" Washington asked dryly. "No," several counselors exclaimed simultaneously. Ambassador Rico looked pleased. Excellent. We will forward the detailed agreement for your review. Assuming acceptable terms can be reached, normal diplomatic relations can begin immediately. It seemed too easy, too generous. I couldn't help myself. I spoke up from my observer's station. And what of our leaders? Grand Admiral Vexnar? The others taken during your operation? Dr. Jindal answered, her expression sympathetic but firm. They have been tried and sentenced for war crimes under both human and galactic convention law. Their sentences will be carried out in full. And Supreme Overlord Zuvan? I pressed. What did you do to her? A shadow crossed Washington's features. Nothing intentional. During her processing, she was temporarily housed at a facility where we conduct certain research. She accessed restricted files through unknown means. What she saw there wasn't meant for unprepared minds. What files? Dres demanded. What could possibly break someone like Zuvan? The three humans exchanged glances. Ambassador Rico nodded slightly. Project Prometheus, Washington said quietly. Our contingency plan if your species had escalated rather than capitulated. I don't understand, Dres admitted. Dr. Jindal's voice was gentle, almost sad. The technology we demonstrated, the phase-shifting extraction capabilities, the instantaneous fleet deployment that was just a fraction of our defensive arsenal. Project Prometheus is something else entirely. Something in her tone sent cold ripples across my membranes. The meeting concluded shortly after, with the Council unanimously approving preliminary acceptance of the human terms. As the delegation prepared to depart, I found myself standing near Commander Washington. Commander, I said quietly, I'm Tor Laxzoom, Chief Historian. May I ask one question that's troubling me? He assessed me briefly before nodding. One question. Your people showed remarkable restraint. You could have destroyed us, yet chose precision over devastation. History suggests this isn't typical human behavior when grievously wronged. Why the mercy? Washington's expression changed subtly. Who said anything about mercy, historian? We removed your corrupt leadership, left your civilization intact but destabilized, demonstrated technology you can't comprehend, let alone defend against. Now you will spend the next century paranoid, wondering what else we are capable of. While your economy and military wither from fear and indecision. He smiled thinly. Sometimes vengeance is more effective when you leave the enemy alive to regret their choices. I watched him walk away, a chill spreading through my core. He was right, of course. The hegemony never recovered its former glory. The peace treaty was signed, reparations paid, diplomatic relations established. On the surface, life continued. But underneath, everything had changed. Our confidence was shattered. Our supremacy a delusion exposed. For 2 years, an uneasy peace prevailed. Trade routes reopened. Cultural exchanges began. Humans even helped modernize some of our more outdated infrastructure systems as gestures of goodwill. Then came the Krell incident. The Krell Dominion, our long-standing rivals and the only other major power in our sector, had observed events with keen interest. They saw opportunity in our humiliation. And apparently they hadn't fully grasped the implications of human military capabilities. The details remain contested, but the outcome is not. The Krell attempted a raid on a human mining facility in the Epsilon Eridani system. Unlike our methodical extermination of New Montana, the Krell attack was typical of their species, a smash-and-grab operation intended to destroy infrastructure and steal resources. 17 humans died. The Krell raiding force consisted of 3 heavy cruisers and support craft. They escaped back to Krell space, no doubt celebrating their successful raid. 3 days later, the Atropos anomaly began. Scientists noticed at first unusual readings from the direction of the Krell homeworld system. Gravimetric distortions, radiation spikes, space-time fluctuations that defied conventional physics. Long-range observation platforms recorded what happened next. The Krell star, a perfectly ordinary G-type main sequence star, much like the human Sol, began to unravel. There's no other word for it. The stellar material didn't explode outward as in a nova. It didn't collapse inward as in a neutron star formation. It simply came apart, like thread from a spool, unwinding in spiraling ribbons of plasma. The process took 19 hours. By hour 3, the Krell homeworld's atmosphere had been stripped away by intensifying radiation. By hour 7, the planetary crust was liquefying. By hour 12, nothing remained of their civilization but scattered debris. No human ships were detected in the system, no weapons signatures identified, no radiation typical of known stellar manipulation technology. The star simply unmade itself. When it was over, where a thriving 7-planet system with billions of Krell had existed, only an expanding cloud of stellar material remained, it swirling in impossible patterns that somehow produced, when viewed from certain angles, a distinctive shape, a stylized human hand palm forward. The message couldn't have been clearer if they'd sent it in writing. The human response to diplomatic inquiries about the Atropos anomaly was a masterpiece of political non-denial. The United Earth government categorically denies conducting any military operations against the Krell Dominion. The stellar event in question appears to be a previously undocumented natural phenomenon requiring further scientific study. We extend our sincere condolences to any affected by this tragedy. Not a single government in the galaxy believed them, not for 1 second. But what could anyone do? Object? Demand investigation? Risk having their own stars naturally unravel? And that, ultimately, is how peace finally came to our corner of the galaxy. Not through understanding or compassion or shared values, but through absolute, paralyzing terror of what humans are capable of when provoked. They could have conquered us, subjugated our worlds, stripped our resources. Instead, they defeated us more comprehensively by simply letting us live with the knowledge of what they can do. I have spent decades studying human history since then. Their art, their philosophy, their strange blend of compassion and cruelty. I have come to a conclusion that haunts my sleep cycles. Humans aren't inherently more violent than other species. They are just better at it. More innovative, more thorough, more willing to violate what others consider immutable laws of physics and morality alike. As I record this final testimony, human influence continues to expand. They trade with us, share certain technologies, even allow limited cultural exchanges. Their diplomats smile and speak of peaceful coexistence. Their merchants sell us goods we have grown dependent upon. Their scientists collaborate with ours on approved research topics. But we know, everyone knows, cross them, harm their people, threaten their interests, and consequences will follow that redefine the meaning of retribution. They wiped out a human colony. Earth's response erased a star system. And somewhere, in classified human facilities, Project Prometheus waits for the next species foolish enough to believe humans are merely another spacefaring civilization rather than what they truly are, an extinction-level event with a diplomatic core. This is Torlak Zoom, final chief historian of the once great Zypherian hegemony, concluding this record with a simple warning to all who find it. The humans have a saying that serves as both promise and threat, and I have come to understand its profound wisdom through bitter experience. Fuck around and find out. Indeed we did. And indeed we found out. May you be wiser than we were.